material.
Okay, so another app that you will need to open that slides from your phone is Google Slides. So if you download that app, it will let you open this slide from your phone, but once you log into that classroom, you'll have access to that from your home, from your computers or browsers or whatnot. I'm just giving you access to the slides so that you can go back and review or see it a bit clearer. The code again? Okay, please update me your status. Where are you now? Do you have access to the classroom?
Still downloading.
Still downloading, okay.
So which app you have to download?
Google Classroom.
Right.
So I'll write down for you. Google Classroom and Slides.
Can you give us a step? Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Can you guys
Okay, can we fill up the table so
because you guys
same
need to
groups?
work as a group?
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's two here. You at the back, can you just please join that group there? Right, don't be by yourself. Look alone. You're gonna cover that, it's okay.
No, I don't want to be in the camera.
That's fine.
It won't get you in the camera actually, it's from quite high. That's all.
Yeah, that's fine. Take one hand out. Grab a seat.
Come over here, please, if you want.
Okay, everybody ready?
Yep.
Can we start? Perfect. So hopefully you have access to the slides now. I'm going to go to my master slide. Okay, good evening once again. Welcome to the class. As you can see, we'll be doing a few things from the speaking side of the test, right? There's a few technical terms there, automated scoring, and then obviously read aloud. But obviously we're going to start with speaking to begin with, right? Now I've got a couple of agendas today. I've got a couple of objectives from my end, which is after today you don't have to worry about your speaking anymore, right? That's the main objective. You don't have to worry about your speaking anymore. You might have to work towards your goal, but idea is you have a clear picture of what's required from you in that test as far as speaking is concerned, right? Now the next agenda that I have is from this class only. I would like you to get 90 tomorrow in speaking if that's possible. Right? Sounds good? Right? All you have to do is just pay attention to the class, be sincere, do the group activities, and you'll see that you'll end up getting 90 if you do the exam tomorrow. But it's only speaking. Right? I'm not promising everything else, just speaking and speaking only, right? If you want something else, come to other classes, right? But today, speaking is the priority, right? Okay, so I'm gonna start in a minute, but again, refresh your mind that today's objective is speaking and speaking only, but our focus will be read aloud from there on, right? So let's start with the, can you join a group so that you sit with someone? Just do it, yeah. Okay, good. Alrighty, so there you go. So the first group activity is looking at this table, right? I want you to kind of look at this one for 30 seconds and then discuss with your partner on your table and tell me, looking at this table and this table only, which item type would you say is the most important item type? But you have to tell me why, right? Just because you heard it from somewhere, don't tell me, oh, this is why this is the most important one. Tell me, why is it important, right? Okay, now discuss. Right, you had a look, discuss amongst yourself for 30 seconds, make some friends, and then tell me why is it important. Okay, congratulations, you can speak in English, right? So as I said, you will be getting 90 tomorrow. You can speak like this now. You just have to make sure that you're doing it in the exam as well, right? It's a similar concept. You just have to speak like a human, right? Don't worry about the test so much, just to speak, right? Okay, so you had a discussion, right? Now, from this table, which item type is the most important one and why? What do you think? Read aloud. Why? Is it because I'm taking the class today? Okay, fair enough. But give me some more objective reason. Right? Why do you think read aloud is important? What makes you say so? They're gonna listen to us. Who are they? The computer. You think the computer will be listening for read aloud? So that's why you're saying it's important. That's okay. It could be valid, it might not be valid. What about you guys?
Read aloud.
Read aloud. Why?
Because for speaking, usually it's the fluency and the pronunciation. And in read aloud, you do a lot of that one, like test the fluency and the pronunciation.
Okay, so in speaking you check, the computer wants to check your fluency and speaking. So in read aloud you do a lot of them, right? 6 to 7 of them. That's why you're saying read aloud is important, right? If you go with that notion, repeat sentence is even more important.
Short sentence.
But it's 10 or 12, right? So number is even more, right? Okay, maybe right, maybe not right, but we'll come back to that. What about you guys?
Repeat sentence.
Repeat sentence, why?
Because in repeat sentence we have to understand as well as we have to focus on the what exactly sentence is.
Okay, so now in repeat sentence you're not only speaking, you have to kind of understand it first as well, right? So it looks like you can't really only demonstrate your speaking abilities. There's other things going on there. Okay, it could be right. What about you guys?
I'm going to think the same.
Same to them?
Yeah, we don't
Repeat
think
sentence?
answer short question and
Yeah.
describe image is that important.
Mhm.
Between the rest of three, I can repeat sentence.
Repeat sentence, that's good. Okay, why?
Because it contributes to your listening as well as your speaking. So
It
it's-
contributes to your listening and speaking.
Yeah.
If you go with that notion, written lecture is equally important.
And reading it.
Well, the number is higher.
Numbers, so now you're looking at numbers. Numbers is highest in repeat sentence, so you're choosing repeat sentence. Okay, that makes sense. What about you guys?
Read aloud is important.
Why?
Contributes to reading.
Okay, but other things contribute to listening. You don't want your listening score?
Repeat sentence and then read aloud.
So both of them? Right? We're going to choose higher than the other. Okay, that's okay, but you're thinking. What about you guys? What do you think?
Read aloud.
Read aloud. Why?
And fluency.
Sorry?
Because it's easy, we can enhance our score. Because
It's
yeah.
easy, so we can enhance our score. Okay, what about you guys?
We think maybe describe image,
You think maybe describe image? Why is that?
because we don't have much time to think about what's the image we have.
You don't have much time to think about, right?
Yeah,
Do you have
because-
lots of time to think about it or not?
No, but because it's sometimes hard image or hard to describe.
Sometimes it's
something.
hard. So you're thinking about how hard or how easy it is, right? I find this one easy, so might be this one not as important, right? Okay, so all of those things that you've told me, they're all valid, right? They're all valid, but we now have to understand what Pearson is telling us, right? If we just go with numbers and numbers alone, like some of you did, right? It looks like repeat sentence wins it, right? Each and every sentence will have 30 marks allocated for it. So just by looking at the raw score alone, I can say repeat sentence is the most important task, right? But if I really want to check your speaking, as you said, fluency and pronunciation, right? Which task would I choose by which I can only look at your speaking?
Fluency.
Read aloud.
Right? Because you don't have to think, as you said, like this kind of image I have to think, right? Repeat sentence, I don't have to understand the sentence. Read aloud, what I have to do is just I have a text in front of me, I'm just going to read, right? So what I'll do, I'll just demonstrate my speaking ability, my pronunciation, and my fluency, right? So if I go with that concept, read aloud seems like it's quite important, right? But that makes it even worse, right? Because now, if I give that very same text to an 8-year-old or a 14-year-old, they will do the same. They will have a text in front of them, and they will speak it, right? So how do I make myself different to that person? Because the test is for somebody who is an adult, right? It's an academic test. So I have to demonstrate some part of my speaking by which I can really impress the computer that yes, I can read. Right? When I'm doing repeat sentence and detailed lecture, I do show them that I can listen and speak. But in read aloud, what am I doing? I'm showing that I can read and speak at the same time, focusing on speaking mainly. Right? The traits of speaking. But in read aloud, there must be something that they're also testing. What? We don't really know at this point, but you have to go with that idea in your brain that something is going on there, which I really have to address as soon as I can. Because if you look at your handout right now, there is about 20 to 40, 20 being me being very relaxed and on the safe side, that it will contribute towards your reading. Right? So you're saying it's quite relaxed. I have a text in front of me, I'm going to just speak. So reading part is what's making it the easiest because I have the text in front of me. So why are they giving that much score towards my reading from read aloud alone? So the number that you see on your handouts right now is 20 to 40 towards your reading from read aloud only. Right? So there must be something going on that they're testing by which you can make your life very easy for reading, or you might not make it very, very easy for your reading. Right? So think about that. Right? Think about for a minute. If you can't get anything in your head today, just realize this fact, there's something going on in this item type which you have to really be very sincere about. Right? Then we can worry about our speaking, fix the speaking today, and then come back to make sure reading is absolutely perfect for my read aloud. Right? Why is that? Think about it. If I give you a word to read and you cannot read that word, right? Just because you could not read it. Let's say photosynthesis. I give you that word and you cannot speak that word anymore. Can I guess, can I assume that you do not have vocabulary of that? Right? Your vocabulary level is low because you could not really say that? I can, right? There was a word you could not read just because you do not know that word. After that, do I really need to give you more fill in the blanks to check your vocabulary level? Not really. You've already failed in the basic level. I gave you a text you could not really read properly. More importantly, demonstrate that you can really read properly. Right? So that's how it impacts your reading. Right? So something to think about for the whole class. Right? But again, focus would be speaking today in the beginning. Then slowly we will address towards our reading. Okay? Now another 30 seconds to look at this table and tell me if I want my speaking score to be achieved very quickly, very easily, what should I focus on? Right? Look at the table again. Look at the communicative skills and enabling skills tested here. What should be your number one focus? Again, 30-second discussion amongst each other.
The best way to do it is read the paper and journal articles.
Okay, cool. Good discussion. Again, what do you guys think?
Read aloud.
That's the item type, but what am I focusing on in terms of my enabling skills?
Speaking.
Speaking, the big skill is speaking, and of speaking?
And reading.
And reading, just because we read aloud. Now in speaking, what's my focus? Am I focusing on content, fluency, or pronunciation?
Fluency.
Just fluency?
Then pronunciation.
And content, so pretty much everything, right? So this table doesn't really tell you what's the minimum focus that I should have, right? So that's why we need to extend the table a bit more, right? So if I start adding raw score taken away or given from those item types and separate them out, right, from content to fluency to pronunciation, something funny comes out, and a very significant number come out from that as well, which is from your speaking raw score, 70% of your scores are taken away or given to you from your fluency and pronunciation only. Fluency and pronunciation. 70% of your raw score, right? So only 30% is content, which is important for your reading and listening, which we know that is important, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Today's focus is getting my speaking score. So it looks like if somehow you can crack how to get that 70% that is speaking, you're well on your way to get your desired score, right? So if you get 100% of that 70%, there's my speaking score, right? So that's what we have to crack today, or come up with a game plan or a study plan by which I can get that 70% all the time, right? So where is this 70% coming from? Fluency and pronunciation. What do they really mean? They mean this, right? Makes us a bit scared, right? So it looks like if I want to get that 10 out of 10, so that means 100% of that 70%, all I have to do is to get respond in a way where my pronunciation is native-like, where my fluency is native-like, right? It looks a bit daunting, right? Now you're thinking, there it go, my speaking, we'll never get it, right? How can I be native-like? Right? You're thinking that way. It's like, how can I be native-like? Well, if you think about it, am I asking you to be a native?
No.
Am I asking you to be Australian, American, British, or anything like that? No. All we're saying that you have to have native-like traits. The way you're going to respond, it needs to be native-like. That's it. Right? Doesn't mean that you have to be born in Australia, America, or England. You just have to sound like them or speak like them in an academic scenario. Right? Let me give you a very good example or a quick example of that. Let's say today I'm under scrutiny. Right? You want to compare my teaching abilities with a native user that you usually see, a native instructor. Right? So right now, I'm going to demonstrate two native instructors. You tell me which one is more like a native person, right? So let's say this is person 1. Right? And this one is native speaker 2. Who do you think is native user? Second? Why is that? Why did you say the second one is? Body language, right? Did you really care what I said? Right? In the first one I was saying today I'll focus on real aloud. In the second one I was swearing at you. Right? I literally swear at you, but you didn't really care. Because for you, the trait was body language. Right? When I speak like that, no matter how good my content was, you didn't really care. Right? So you're just looking at me and you're trying to figure out what is the native-like trait. So when I use that body language, you thought, okay, this person has a native-like trait. I don't really care what he's saying. I don't understand anyway. Right? So what did you focus on? The trait of a native speaker. So similarly, in your speech response for that academic test, that's what you have to address. When you respond, do you have the traits of a native user or native speaker? Which is that native-like 5 out of 5, native-like 5 out of 5 in pronunciation and fluency. That's all you have to find out. Right? So when you want to really find out, you have to ask Pearson, what do they really mean by that native-like traits? Right? What are the traits that I need to address so that I get my desired score of speaking next time? Right? So let's see. Let's ask Pearson. If you ask Pearson, they will give you this big guide. Right? If I zoom in to fluency, this is what I see. Now, the reason I'm zooming into fluency is because of these evidences that we have. Right? Fairly recent scores. This shows you that when you get 90 out of 90 in fluency, which is only the 50% of that 70%, right? Only the 50% of 70%. When you get 90 in fluency, no matter how low your pronunciation is, 50 to 60, you still get close to 90. Not only 79 plus, it's actually 89 plus, right? So look at the score. One person got 90 in fluency, pronunciation 50. His speaking is still 89. The same, similarly, 90 in fluency, pronunciation 60, speaking is 90, right? Another example of that here, same scoring. 90 in fluency, 72 in pronunciation, 90 in fluency, 58 in pronunciation, is still 87 to 89 plus. Not only 79, 80 plus, right? I don't think you need 90, you only need 99 plus, right? So this tells you, if somehow you can crack what the fluency is, you don't really have to worry about pronunciation as much, right? At least as far as today's class is concerned, which is speaking today, 90 or close to 90, right? So let's focus on fluency and fluency alone, right? So I've got this guide again taken from Pearson's, right? All I want you to do now is read them aloud for the first 30 seconds or 40 seconds, then have a group discussion amongst yourself and summarize that for me, please, right? Find repetitive keywords from there and you tell me what's happening there, what's some key factors that you can take away from there and talk to me. Communicate with me, summarize that text. Let's imagine it's a summarized written text, right? So read aloud first of all, from top to bottom.
Because the whole freedom and phrase. There are no exceptions, additions, false starts, or normative phonological Speech has a sensible greeting, appropriate phrasing, and wording. There is no more than one repetition for a false start. There are no signification normative phonological speech has a acceptable speech but level. There may be more than one repetition. Most words are spoken in the constant phrase. There are few repetitions for false start. There are no long vowels in speech does not constitute Speech may be never sarcastic. Speech legends, words, have letters, words, no more than 2 or 3 statements.
Good. You just did read aloud for 5 texts, right? So we had a good practice already. So you can go home if you want. Anyway, okay. Now look at intelligibly, right? What is it saying? What are the key factors there, or what are the repetitive keywords? Can you identify that very quickly? Rhythm, phrasing. What else? Hesitation. What else?
False start.
Repetition. Yeah, but you're reading only the first passage, right? Read the whole thing. Can you just summarize this text, this document with just reading the first one, just because you want 5 out of 5? Right? All together, what's the summary? So yes, rhythm and phrasing, right? And what else? Repetitive keywords? False start. Again, you're still staying there. Okay, keep going. Hesitation. Keep going. What else? The staccato is being repeated as well. Okay, next. Long pause. It's that's also repetitive. What else? So what's happening? There is a difficult keyword, so you don't want to repeat that anymore. Non-phonological simplification. Is it not being repetitive? Right? It's 2 times as well. So it's also repetitive, right? So as you can see, if you look at that document intelligibly, what you're seeing is it will debit your score looking at your phrasing and rhythm and phonological simplification. Whatever that is, we probably don't know at this point. We don't have to worry about it. But if you look at it, if your rhythm is not there, you're not going to get 5 anymore. If your phrasing is inappropriate, you're not going to get 5 anymore. If you have phonological simplification, it's going to bring you down from 5 to 3. Then, from 3 to 0, it will be the long pauses, right? If you have long pauses, you're not going to get 3 anymore. You're going to go down to 3 to 2 to 1, right? So this is what the summary is. If you go home today and you talk to your friend and you tell them, okay, if you want 5 out of 5 in your fluency, make sure your rhythm is there. Otherwise, you're not going to get 5. You might get 3 or 4. If your phrasing is inappropriate, you're probably not going to get 5 anymore. It's going to be 3 or 4. If you have long pauses, I think you're going to get 3 or less, right? So this is the summary of that. As long as you're aware of this one conceptually, or looking at the human's perspective, you will know what's expected from you, right? So it's not about just not having hesitation and not having false starts. It's about those rhythm and phrases. That's how they started. Speech shows smooth rhythm and phrasing. That's your first priority. Then comes hesitation, false repeat, and whatnot, right? So you cannot really ignore the fact of rhythm and phrasing, right? Just because I speak without any hesitation, speech shows smooth rhythm and phrasing, and there are no hesitation, repetition, false starts, or non-phonetic simplifications. Is that good?
No.
Did you have any rhythm?
No.
More importantly, did I really communicate with you? You cannot really forget the communication part of this test, right? When you came here, you started sitting by yourself. You forgot that human part of PT, which is at the end of the day, it's a communicative test. Skills test, but you have to still communicate, right? This is where I'm going to bring you back today. Forget about PT, let's communicate first, right? That's why I made you all in a group, okay? Cool, so that's the conceptual understanding of those fluency, right? But the problem is, you're not doing it for a human, you're doing it for a computer. So you have to understand the technological side of things as well. These are quite detailed analysis of how the computer score works, but I'm going to try to make it as simple as I can. When you speak, your speech response will be taken, put in the computer, then the computer will make some sort of comparison with already stored data. That's it. Don't think about it too much, right? So what's going to happen, they will have 2 pieces of technology there. One will be the speech recognizer, another will be a statistical modeling, right? So they're going to just look at the data and the data alone, right? For example, right, when you looked at my responses as in between 2 instructors, right? Let's say you're recording me, and the recorder cannot get my voice, right? So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? This person, is there any movement? Right? And this person is moving. So who are you going to say is more native-like? The person who is moving. So you're compared with the movement, not what the content was inside. This person looked like it's a still camera, and this person was actually giving the lecture. So you thought this person is producing a good response, right? So similarly, when you give a voice response, the computer will do similar things, right? Where it will take your information like they already have taken information from different types of native users, right? So again, these are not only Australian, American, they could be from your home country, right? Bangladesh, Nepal, Japan, Australia, right? Even Australia, right? Anywhere, China, anywhere, right? So they will have all the native users of that English language response there, right? That will be their reference model. These are good ones, right? Then they will find different stages, right? Learners of English language, something which is not that good, which is this one. Is it good? Not good, right? So they will find out all those kind of one. So they will have a list of good responses, list of very bad responses, right? Reference model and something that you should avoid. So as soon as you start speaking, right? Let's say you are another instructor, you came in and you did this. So you have hand gesture, but you're not using the other hand. So you are not really there, but you're not really there either, right? So you'll be somewhere in the middle. As soon as they find where you are, they're not gonna just stop there, they're gonna ask experts. Okay, that person who just moved one hand, how much should you give them? Should you give them 4 or 5 or 6 or 3 or 2, right? So they will have average of those 100 test reviewers as well. So as soon as you give your voice sample, the computer will find you where you are. As soon as they find you, they will take the average score of that type of response. Is it going to be that difficult for the computer to find? No. Not really. Very easy, right? You gave your response, it looks like it belongs here. If you're way towards there, 3, 2, 0. If you're way towards here, it's 3, 2, 5, right? Now the computer will obviously look at those patterns using the human rating mechanism, right? The criteria that the human has set up, which is rhythm, phrasing, and long pauses, right? So the way a computer will see things is like this. Right? What's inside? Do we already know? I don't really know, right? I'm just looking at the outside parameters of everything. Right? So what's the very first thing you reckon a very low-level computer will see? Let's say Pentium 1. Right? It can't do the analysis of the graphs anymore, so it just sees little informations. What would be the very easy thing to see? Right? Any idea? The pause, right? The very distinct pause, right? I can just see that pause. At 4th second, there is a pause. In here, is there a pause there? No. Right? So if my first one is a reference model, right? Who is more like a reference model? This one or that one? Second one, right? Very first thing. What's the next very easy thing to do? Pentium 1 still. Right? Very weak computer. It cannot go and inside and analyze those graphs. What can it do?
Load.
Sorry?
Frequency.
The load.
Frequency was too difficult, right? Pentium 1, it can't do that much analysis.
Load.
Sorry? Loud, right? So as you can see, this one here,
Yeah.
it looks like it's a bit less than these ones, right? This spice goes up to here, and this one is very low here. What is that? Maybe the pronunciation is not loud enough. Right? So as soon as you have no pauses in these two graphs, I can say, what's happening? No rhythm. That's the first criteria. Are you going to be 5 anymore? No, you're not going to be 5 anymore. What will be next? Maybe the volume level. Your pronunciation going to be 5 anymore? Not really. It's not loud enough. You're not articulative. Right? I can't really hear you properly. I have to cock my ear to find out what's going on. Right? Again, very simple analysis going on here. What's next? That's too difficult still. What about the timing? Right? The next thing I'll see, how long did this person took, how long did this person took, and how long this one is taking. Right? So let's say the first one is 15 seconds, the next one is 16, and you took 26 seconds. Do I have to press play and find out what's going on in your fluency? No, you're a bit too slow. Right? So your fluency is not that great. So if I write a code, if test taker's response is greater than or equal to 25 seconds, fluency never ever more than 3 out of 5. Is that difficult code to write? Very easy, right? So looks like, if you think about computer's perspective, the very first thing you have to look at is those timing and those pauses. Right? The very first thing, easily I can figure out what's going on. That one is 15 seconds, the next one is 16 seconds, the next one is 20 seconds, too slow. This one doesn't have those pauses in the middle. And this one, the volume is kind of low as well. So this is how computer says things. Once you understand that conceptual understanding of the fluency, now you have to look at what computer says things, how computer says things, and then you can develop your strategy like that, right? So let's have a quick look at the examples that I put there, right? So let's imagine that first person, which was this one. This is a computerized recording, not very simple. So if you look at it,
domestication is an evolutionary, rather than a political, development. They were more likely to survive and prosper in an alliance with humans than on their own. Humans provided the animals with food and protection, in exchange for which the animals provided the humans their milk and eggs, and their flesh.
Right? There is phrasing, there is quite rhythmic pattern going on and whatnot, right? Now let's look at the students one that we found out, right? We said the second one is more like them, right? So if we look back at the graph again, this one was our second one. We said this one is better, this one is worse, right? So let's play that. Is it really true or not? So this is my second one.
Domestication is an evolutionary rather than a political development. They were more likely to survive and prosper in an alliance with humans than on their own. Humans provided the animals with food and protection, in exchange for which the animals provided the humans their milk and eggs and their flesh.
Cool. Very similar to that person, right? Now the other person, we said, what's wrong with it? No pauses, right? So it's gonna be like a train, blah, 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 and the volume is low. So you heard this volume, keep it in your mind, and let's listen to the next one.
Domestication is an evolutionary rather than a political development. They were more likely to survive and prosper in an alliance with humans than on their own.
Okay, have you noticed that she's doing, like, why is she doing that? Look, she's not pausing anywhere, right? Where they had a pause there, she's like going like that, then going there, right? So if you're doing your read aloud and you find yourself doing that, that means you're not pausing anywhere, right? It's pretty obvious to find out. Right? As you can see, is there any pause there? That's why he ran out of breath. And that's why the volume is too low, because he's focusing on just speaking, not those rhythm, not this phrasing, and it looked like that she doesn't have good fluency. But did she hesitate? No hesitation whatsoever, right? So according to that idea that no hesitation will give you good fluency score, you're gonna give that good score. But is she getting good score according to Pearson's scoring right? Absolutely not, right? She's not demonstrating anything that Pearson's is asking for. Right? Now obviously, if you think about it, this type of pattern is giving you scores these days, right? But what if it doesn't tomorrow? Right? What if it doesn't after 1 month? Why would you learn something which might not work in future? Right? Because this may be working right now with this current version of the speech recognizer that Pearson's have. In 3 months, if they develop, what are you going to do then? Then you have to relearn it. How about we learn it the right way from the beginning? Because it's not that difficult at the end if you think about it. Right? So that's what we're going to focus. We're going to try to learn it the right way. So that after that, we're going to have to relearn it afterwards when the things becomes difficult. Right? Okay, so based on this and Pearson's tips, we're going to now come up with something which we have to address for my fluency score. Right? So the first advice that Pearson have from you is you should speak clearly. There is no need to rush like her when you lose your breath. Right? Make sure you're speaking very, very clearly. Right? Can somebody tell me conceptually what does that mean? When somebody says speak clearly, what does it really mean? Let's say pronunciation, but what part of the pronunciation?
People can understand what you say.
People can understand. So to make sure that you understand, what should I have to do?
The articulation.
Articulation, I have to be loud enough, right? Right? So if I say come, I was loud, right? Did you understand what I said to say? Where did I go wrong? Sorry? Word stress? Come! Very stressed, right? Did you still understand me?
Just pronounce the whole word.
Pronounce the whole word, right? Speaking clearly, first of all, means even if I speak clearly and you can't hear me, if I'm not articulated, let's say, do you hear me? Right? But I see it very clearly, right? So according to you, it's very clear, but you couldn't really hear. So there has to be volume, first of all, and then there needs to be enunciating that word, right? Which means computer, right? Computer had 3 parts, 3 syllables, which I have to say very clearly as well. Otherwise, the computer will never get it, right? I can guess when you're having a conversation with me, but the computer will never guess it, right? So you have to make sure that it's very clear for the computer. It's not my advice, it's directly written in the Pearson's official guide. You should speak clearly, there's no need to rush just because you think you have to rush, right? Make sure you're clear. Computer. Right? All those syllables in that word is absolutely clear, and then you're loud enough, right? Now here comes another thing here. When you're trying to speak clearly, and you're doing that for the test as well, right? You mix up a technological side of things, which is, if I'm talking to the microphone, I cannot have breathing in there. What's going to happen if you have breathing? Let's say it's not good, right? So what do? I have an advice where you put the microphone on top of your nose so that you don't directly breathe on it, right? Works pretty good. Works very, very well. The problem is, nothing gets recorded. Right? If you put the microphone on your nose, is the speaking going to come here and go back around and come back through your nose? No, it's not, right? So it cancels the noise, it cancels everything, right? So the perfect positioning for your microphone would be 2 fingers away, and visually you should be able to see the tip of the microphone through your nose. right? You know, sometimes when you were a kid, you used to play like this, right? Similar concept. So you need to see the tip of the microphone through your nose, right? And 2 or 3 fingers away, so that you're not heavily breathing on it, right? Now, those breathing, the computer can discern that. The recognizer is not that weak. It's not Pentium 1, Pentium 2 or 3, right? So make sure visually you can see the microphone through your nose, and it's just about 3 or 4 fingers away. Even 2 fingers is perfectly fine, right? So that the computer can hear you, first of all, and then you're enunciating and it can clearly understand you, right? Then after that, obviously, no need to rush. Now, the simple advice that Pearsons have for you is the punctuation, right? Use punctuation to figure out where should be those pauses, right? That distinct pause that you saw in that graph, which is here, this is actually a full stop. So that's why they had a pause there. Full stop, distinct pause, and then you go to the next one, right? Again, very straightforward tips given by Pearson. Then on top of that, what you can do, come up with a bit extension of that recipes that they have given us, right? So the pauses, the rhythm, how can I get that? Now, since the first thing that you notice in that graph was the timing factor, that's what you have to address straight away, right? That's the very first thing you have to do, which is, what was the 0 to 3 again? What was the criteria before 0 to 3?
Have to start again.
Sorry?
Have to within 3 seconds.
Remember that 3 to 0, it brings you down from 3 to 0. What criteria gives you 3 to 0? You saying something? Long pauses, right? So that's the very first thing you have to avoid, because I don't want to get 3, I want to get above 3. What's long pauses? Is it 3 seconds or less than 3 seconds?
Less than 3 seconds.
Now, why is 3 less than 3 seconds? Why did I choose that number?
After 3 seconds.
Because according to Pearson, 3 seconds is already quite long. It's longer than long, right? 3 seconds is when they're going to shut off your microphone. So that means Pearson thinks it's not only long, it's not necessary anymore, right? Just go to the next task. So 3 seconds, obviously you have to avoid, because after 3 seconds they will shut off the microphone, right? Then comes long pauses. So obviously will be a bit less than that, 2 seconds. So that's why we're calling it a 2-second rule. No matter what in that test, no matter what happens in that test, you are never going to stop for more than 2 seconds, right? 2 seconds is too long. That natural pauses, or the pauses that Pearson's ask you, right? You need to keep telling yourself, if I see a full stop, I'll pause for 1 second, right? Full stop, 1 second. If you see a comma, 0.5 seconds, right? If you see nothing, 0.25 seconds, right? These are your natural rhythm. You have to pause somewhere, otherwise you will quickly run out of breath like her, right? So make sure you put some pauses. We can call them 0.25 second pause for rhythm, right? So see full stop, 1 second pause, comma, half a second pause. So picture yourself having those pauses all the time whenever you're doing read aloud, describe image, and whatnot. How long is 1 second? Right? If you want to listen to that, 1 second. If you don't want to listen to that and you want to move on, half a second. Very straightforward, right? You talk, 1 second. Talk. These are all commas, right? So picture yourself doing that one in the exam. Then I have a full stop, I'll naturally pause, and then I go to the next one, right? Don't exaggerate that pauses, right? I've seen people reading now like this. You have 30 to 40 seconds to look at, right? Don't make an unnatural pauses just because I've asked you to give those natural pauses. It needs to be quite smooth, right? You have 30 to 40 seconds to look at the text before the microphone starts, right? Things like that. Something natural, less than comma, not more than comma, right? Then it will become very unnatural. Then comes your recommended time, the native-like time, right? Remember, the first thing you notice is the comparison between the total length of the test, right? So this is the recommended time given to you in digits, right? Now these digits only help you in your preparation stage, right? So let's say you go home today and you're doing a read aloud, then you can kind of see how long you're taking. Oh, I took 30 seconds, 35 seconds. You tell yourself that you have to cut back your time, right? But in the exam, you don't really see that anymore, right? So how would you know how long have you taken? Because in the exam, you will say something like this. Is there any timer there? Do you see any timer? No, you only see a progress bar, right? So if you think about it, that's how you have to kind of address how you see those timing. So the recommended time for read aloud is half the amount of time given to you. So if they give you 40, you want to finish within 20 to 25, right? So obviously, how would you know? You're going to pretend that this box, the total length of the bar, is broken into 4 boxes. Can you picture that? It's difficult to picture? Not really, just 4 boxes. So if you're at read aloud, where do you want to finish? At the start of the 3rd box. So this will be your read aloud. Right after that would be your describe image. And right after that would be your written lecture. right? All you can do is just picture them because you can't really see the digital clock there. It's only for your preparation time. So as soon as you're speaking, it's time for read aloud. Describe image. Written lecture, right? So this is kind of matches with those recommended timing that you need to address for your fluency in that exam, right? So make sure that you can always kind of assess yourself where you are in terms of your timing. Even if you're not recording your timing in the practice session, make sure you're aware of them, right? It's very, very important. Now, in terms of hitting that timing, one technical thing that you have to also worry about is pressing next straight away, right? Don't let the computer stop you after 3 seconds just because you finished. Don't think that the job is done. You have to press next. Then after that, you have to press yes as well, right? So technically, that little 1 second should not really count, right? But if timing is that important, why would I let that to go to chance, right? Make sure you're doing the right thing, which is you press next, yes. Press next, yes, right? That little half a second will be 1 more second of your time. So if you're at 20 seconds, 6 seconds, now it will be 27 seconds, right? Technically, it should not impact, but we have tried it and it does impact, right? So if you don't press next straight away and then confirm it straight away, it counts as that time. We don't seem to get 19 or 19 fluency anymore, right? You understand that technical side of things, right? Next. Now the problem is you think that, oh, yes, my mouse will be there automatically, right? It doesn't. You have to physically go there. So next and yes. No matter what the speaking is. Next, yes. Next, yes. Right? So when you do that, hopefully this timing factor will be taken care of, right? Then comes my fluency factor 2, which is the hesitation, the repetition you say, right? Now there are 2 types of hesitation here. One we call sentence level hesitation. Right, so if you send your recordings to us for review, let's say you send it through my Telegram and I say that you have sentence level hesitation, it basically means these things, right? No hesitation, repetition, and false start. Which basically means if I really, let's say, I'm talking about recipe for native life, right? That's sentence level hesitation. I just could not really finish my sentence. I just kept repeating, saying sorry and whatnot. These are all false start, false stop, and all those kind of things. You have to avoid that at all cost, right? So this is a promise you have to make me today. No matter what happens in that next exam, you will never hesitate, right? Somebody is dying next to you, let them die, right? You're doing describe image, they just fall apart. That's like, okay, I'll come back to you after my speaking section, right? When there is a listening break, then you're like, oh, you died, right? But don't hesitate. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, right? Once you do that and you have that timing factor, is usually your 90 out of 90 fluency, right? Never hesitate. My promise is, no matter what's making you hesitate in that exam, tell me, I'll fix it. I have a solution for everything. I'm a fluency wizard, right? You tell me, oh, I'm hesitating because of this reason. What's the reason? Oh, he died, so I stopped. Why did you? Right? Be cruel in that test. Don't hesitate whatsoever. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. That 2 seconds is the main thing here, right? Just because you're lost in that describe image doesn't mean that you stop. You should have enough language by which you can come out of that situation, right? You made a mistake in read aloud. Don't freak out. Keep going, right? So this is what you have to always do for me, right? This is sentence level hesitation. If you send me a recording and I say that you have sentence level hesitation, make sure you know what that means. Now the next one is word level hesitation. Right, again, if you have sent me your read aloud and I'm saying that you have a word level hesitation, you have to understand what that means. At this point, do you understand what that means? Any guess? Looks like that's phonological simplification, right? If you think about it, this is what is this, right? So when I give you that review, that okay, you have word level hesitation, you are 4 weeks away from your speaking, right? If I tell you sentence level hesitation, you're 2 weeks away. Because sentence level hesitation, you just have to be confident, right? You don't come back, repeat, keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. Word level hesitation is when you really simplify a word so much that it sounds 3 different words by itself, right? Instead of saying computer, you say computer. Like a kid. When you were a kid, mommy, water. Right? So that's a non-phonological simplification as a kid. Who else does that with difficult words? Non-native people. You come across a new word, you break it down so much, it sounds like 3 different words instead of 1 single word. Right? So if you keep doing that one, it's like a stammering. So instead of saying phonological, you say phonological, things like that. That's word level hesitation. This will impact your fluency, this will impact your pronunciation as well. Because the word is not clear anymore. I don't really understand what you're trying to Same. So make sure when you're sending your video louds to us, we are reviewing that one, and as soon as we have replied back, you understand what's going on, right? And you can address that one as soon as you can. Okay, this is what's going to make you English, right? After this, you'll probably start sounding quite British-like. That's why I chose the British example, right? This is what's going to give you that rhythm. This is what Pearson is expecting in the beginning, right? This is your ability to break a sentence into its meaningful chunk, meaningful phrase. What chunking means? Chunking basically means that you break a sentence into its meaningful parts, right? Because if you think about it in here, am I talking about British? Am I talking about consumer? Really? Am I just simply talking about consumers? No, I'm talking about British consumers. That thing that I have a comment down here, which it says we have to drastically change what they eat. Who has to drastically change what they eat? British people or consumers? British consumers, right? So I have to break them into its meaningful chunk so that I have that rhythm. Then I can do something on those phrases and I will probably get good fluency score, right? How would the computer know that? If this is my first sentence of that text that they've given us, right? If you don't put that phrases together, your response will probably look like this, and then a pause, then like this. So British consumers. Where this one will actually be like this for a native speaker. So this one is British consumers, and this one is British consumers. There is no pause in between them. And this is in reality giving you that help to get towards that recommended timing. Because when you say British consumers, you have a little bit of pause in the middle, right? No matter how fast you speak, the pause will always be there unless and until you say them together. So it should be British consumers will have to drastically change what they eat. That's it. That's what appropriate phrasing is. You don't have to worry about it too much of what to do, just as long as you're making them together. Try to understand what could be the meaning. Right? Looks like it's advanced, but if you're just aware, it will automatically come to you. Right? Just be aware of them. Right? British consumers will have to drastically change what they eat. If you want, you can break it up even more if you want. British consumers will have to drastically change what they eat. Right? Automatic rhythm. Right? So these are my 3 fluency factors. Right? First one was? What was the first one? Pearson's advice, speak clearly. Yes. What next?
No hesitation.
Before that? Long pauses, right? You don't want to have to have more than 2-second pause. And the next one is hesitation, right? You don't want to come false, repeat and whatnot. Third one is this one, which is my rhythm. Okay? Cool. So let's move on to the next thing, where this is how it looks like. If anybody doing the test for the first time, the first thing you'll see is the instruction window, then your recorder timer and whatnot, and the text at the bottom. Right? Do you see digital clock again in the response time? No, it's just in the countdown clock when the preparation time is there. It starts with 40, 39, 37 and whatnot. Right? Again, after that, you just have to visually find out where you need to finish. Right? So where do you reckon you need to finish? Tell me where to stop. Right? So about here. It's not 20 seconds, 21 seconds, 22 seconds. It's 20 to 25. Right? Just visually, you have to tell yourself, this is where I need to finish. That's it. This is how it looks like. Okay. Now, if I really break down the task formality again, the main thing that you're seeing here is should speak clearly and no need to rush, right? See, the Pearson's already given you an advice. You do not want to go to the end of the bar. You need to finish it before they finish it. Very, very, very important, right? And look like, and there's another thing here. You are only able to record your response once. Oops. So that means you can't record anymore. If you make a mistake, you can't get to record that anymore. But we will turn that around. We will do it as if we are doing it twice. Right? How? I'll show you in a minute. Hold that thought, right? Okay, then what's going on in the background, right? Right? I want you to just quickly read with me, right? And really focus on what I'm trying to say here. One of the sub-skill set that they're testing is your ability to identify writer's purpose, tone, and attitude, and then you speak to inform, explain, right? To repeat, right? You repeat it to inform or to explain, right? 2 important phrases here. I'll come back to that in a minute. But right now, let's focus on that speaking part. At this point, do you understand all these points very clearly? First one is speaking at a natural rate. Do you understand what that means? Everybody clear on that? That means, do you speak very fast or slow? Normal. Right? No fast, no slow. Normal. Your natural rate. So this is taken care of. What about producing a fluent speech? Do you understand what producing a fluent speech means? Yes, the three factor, right? Very straightforward, right? You don't have to think too much. Fluent means that three things that I told you. No long pauses, no hesitation, English rhythm. Okay, so I understand that. Do you understand what a correct intonation is? Haven't really discussed that, have we, right? So put a question mark there. What about using correct pronunciation? Did we discuss that yet? No, so let's put a question mark there. Using correct stress. Not really, it's a pronunciation. Haven't really talked about that yet. Under time conditions, have we? Time condition means they will give you 40 seconds, finish in 20 to 25 seconds for native like timing. So a lot of things we understand right now. Do we? Okay, so we've achieved something at least by now. That's good. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to now content score of the speaking. Right? This is where you see that 20 to 40 marks. Right? Which basically says any error that you make in that test will be penalized. Right? They don't really tell you what the maximum or minimum content score is. It depends on the text. Right? So it's very vague. That's why we see so much score in our reading from read aloud only, up to 40 from 20. Right? 20, I've never seen it. In all our latest research, we've never seen that we got 20 only. It's always 30 and above. 20 I just put there just to be safe. Right? But it's actually in reality always 30. Which basically means anything that you do to that text, it's written each replacement, omission or insertion, anything you do to that text will be counted as one error. Right? Previously in 2016 test class they said if you make 3 errors, they will take -1 from your content score. So if there is total 10 content score, if you make 3 errors, they will take 1 score from there. Right? Right now in reality, it looks like 1 error is 1 gone. Any 1 error. Right? Which basically means each replacement and omission. What did I do there? I said sorry. Sorry is absolutely dangerous in that test. You never say sorry in that exam. Because what did you do? Each replacement and 1 mistake. You said sorry, instead of saying omission, you said each replacement. How many mistakes now? 4 mistakes. So at least you're losing 1, I think you'll lose 4. So that 1 sorry cost you 4 marks in your reading. 1 sorry. Right? So you never correct yourself. 1 mistakes, move on. Maybe you'll not see the impact of that because previously they said 3 errors will take away 1. Right now I'm saying 1 still is better than 4 errors. Right? So never say sorry. Each replacement, omission or insertion. Right? Next one is our mother tongue is actually not our mother tongue. Our mother tongue is the. No matter what, somehow we just put the everywhere. Right? So each replacement, omission or the insertion of a word. Automatically somehow da comes for some reason. Right? We just keep adding da here, da there. Da is not there. Right? So don't say da. Be very careful that you do not add da here. More importantly, when you add those da, don't say sorry. You made a mistake, move on. Right? Each replacement, omission or the insertion. Oh, sorry. The insertion of a word. Sorry, the 2 mistakes. You said the, move on. Right? But be aware that you don't insert any words other than the text given to you. Right? So this is how the content score works. Right? Now, after realizing that, I have to kind of find out, as far as pronunciation is concerned, how does that impact my content score? Right? Can my pronunciation have an impact on my content score? As far as those replacement and omission and insertion is concerned, probably not. But if you go with Pearson's tips, basically says you have to have stresses appropriately. Right? They give you tips as well. They say that if you find out that there is important words, put stress on the right syllables, put stress on the right words. Looks complicated, but it's easy enough. Any word that gives you information, you put stress on that. Right? But if you go for more details, if you want that 5 out of 5, more information comes out. Right? Like this one. To get 5 out of 5, you have to address these 3 things. First one is all vowels, consonants are produced in a manner that is really understandable by the speaker, assimilation, deletion, and stress. Right? The very first thing we need to focus on is the stress, because that's what the tips as well. Right? If they're focusing on, as a tip, the stress, that means that will be their first criteria to check. Right? If I go break it down, this is what they say. Stress is placed correctly in all words, and sentence level stress is fully appropriate. Right? Now the stress has to be fully appropriate as well. Let's see what that means. Right? If you want to really understand what that 3 things means, these are the 3 things you have to address. One is word and sentence level stress, what we call tonic syllable. Another one is phonetics or IPA, by which you understand those vowels and consonants. And the next one is connected speech. Right? I'll try to break that down in a minute, but primary focus now should be stress, right? So let's see what do they mean by those appropriate stress, right? Because that's the first thing that we'll see and the first thing that we need to focus on, right? Now, there are lots of words there, and different words are different types of words. One is content words, one is focus words, one is function words, right? So that means you have to put stress appropriately on the focus words, right? So let's just leave it to the flow. I'm going to find out the focus words from the tables. From this phrase, tell me which one is the most important word there. Sing, doesn't have to be the right one. Tell me. No, not you. From this phrase, respondents? Yeah. Right, so respondents is my focus. This table, choose the next word from the phrase.
Situation.
See, not you, please.
Financial.
Financial. Right? Okay, now you tell me which one from here. Now don't answer. Right? Give me something, anything. You don't have to think. Just can be anything.
Worsen.
Worsen, right? Worsen, right? So according to you, this word is the most important word in that sentence, right? So now if I say respondents, financial, worsen, does it really mean anything? Am I communicating with you? No. What do I need? More information. Those words are content words. So that needs to be clear. Should speak clearly. But what's sentence level stress? You thought those words, if I say it louder, that's my stress. No, those are content words. It has to be louder and clearer. Then your function words of the, that the, in the. Right? Those will be functions. They are there just for grammar. For example, imagine when you were a kid. Did you say when you saw a dog running, dog is running? You said dog running. Mommy, dog running. Right? Depending on what you prefer, you like dog running. You said dog excitingly. Right? Or mommy was saying, don't run, don't run. Then you said to mommy, dog running. Right? So depending on the context, you change the stress of the words, right? That's what you have to understand as well. Looking at the text, the sentence before and the after, you have to identify what could be the focus of that sentence. And then you put extra stress on that word. That word will be louder, clearer, and slower at the same time. What we call focus level stress. That's what shows that comprehension of your reading. Right? So for example, this one will be obviously most of the respondents, so most obviously louder because it's content word, but respondents will be even louder. Stated that the financial situation had worsened in the past few months. So where did I put focus? On those words. Those were louder, clearer, and slower than everything else. Right? Sentence level is appropriate. Right? Now, does it have to be always the right one? Let's change that. Now, do you want to change the first one? Where would you put it? Most, right? You want to change the next one, this group?
Past.
That's here. What about here? Situation, let's change that. And here? Past, right? Now you change the sentence level of stress, right? Now if you say most of the respondents stated that the financial situation had worsened in the past few months. Is there anything wrong with it? No. Nothing wrong, right? As far as demonstrating the traits is concerned, you did that. So in that example, you really have to really put that appropriately. As long as you're doing it, I know you can do it when there's time to do it. Right? Just demonstrate you've done it. Just choose any of the words, put focus on there. Right? If it is appropriate, you'll probably get extra brownie points. But at this point, you just have to show that you can do it. Right? Just choose any of them. You told me what is important. You don't really know at this point what's important. Anywhere you put them, it looks like you're trying to communicate. Most of the respondents stated that. Whatever I do, it looks like I'm talking. Rather, just because I chose one or two words to say it louder. That will give you that stress automatically for your pronunciation. And more importantly, this is what's going to give you that 50 or 60. Remember the score 90 and 50, 60? This is the 60 part. Now, after that, if you want more, you can go into details, which is the phonetic side of things, right? The sounds of English language. What you have to do from here is very simple. Looking at those English sounds, you have to find out which sound you don't have. First of all, right? Then, what do you produce instead of that sound? Do you produce something English or non-English? For example, Middle Eastern people. I have a big problem. I have a problem that I cannot speak like English. What's the problem? Can you fix my problem? What's their problem? Their problem is they don't have the past sound in that language, right? So they replace all of them with b sound, which is English. So that's perfectly fine, right? So if I have a word which is problem, that Middle Eastern person will now say problem, right? A problem. this one. Now, am I guessing anything else other than problem? I kind of guess that he's trying to say that one, right? So that's okay. So if that person now says problem, what will happen to them is they will get the content score because you're reading the right word or you try to read that right word, right? Now, if you don't say, sorry, I don't know problem, right? If you just say problem very clearly, is there any phonological simplification there? He didn't really simplify, did he? Right? So what will be his fluency score? Good, 90 out of 90, would you say? Right? But what about his pronunciation? Is it good? Big problem. Right? So what's going to happen? Half of the score because sentence level stress is there. So let's say half. So this will be the reading score. This 90 out of 90 in fluency, and this one is 50, 60 out of pronunciation. What will be his speaking score? Not only 79 plus, almost 90, right? So if you have a problem today, are you not going to get 79 plus in the speaking tomorrow? You will, right? Because you're going to pretend like you have no problem, right? So things like that. So this is how you need to look at those sounds. Now, the actual problem is if I have this word like this. Now what is going to say? Bob. Ooh, it's a different sound now because there is a bob instead of pop, right? If the sentence is pop figure, now he's saying bob figure, what's going to happen? It's bob figure, right? So you have to now really understand how your pronunciation can impact your content, right? So this is for somebody who doesn't have that sound, right? For us, universally, this is the problem. For you, the pronunciation of book, books, and booked is always the same because you rush, book, book, book. Right? You have to focus on the syllables. Because when I say book, the computer will not think that I tried to say booked or books. It will be just an error. Book. Nothing to do with your pronunciation, nothing to do with your accent. If you say book, that's okay. Say book or booked or books. It's accent. But right now, your pronunciation error is coming towards your content error because you're not focusing on those S's and EDs. So that's what you have to address primarily for university. Then you have to find out, do you have problem or do you think there is a big sunshine outside? Right? You have a wissen, communication, things like that. Do you have those sounds in English language or not? Right? So there is a link at the end of these two slides, this one, which will help you with that exercise, right? So if you click on this link, when I give you the slide it's access, right, it will take you to this interactive sound, right? So go through all those sounds and find out where is your problem. And then try to fix that one. Bring to the consultation, walk-in consultation, send your recordings. If I tell you, okay, you have a problem with your sound, so you go here and find out how to fix that sound. Ask more help, right? Just have to identify it, that's it, right? Now what's the main problem? Main problem here is, I'm going to do that exercise now with you. So let's say I've got this word here and this word there. Can you read that word for me, this one? You. This one. Pop. You. Okay, this one. Pops. You. Okay. Right? So what's happening? Your pups and pubs are sounding the same. Right? Especially if you're from subcontinent, you do not know the difference between this sound to that sound. Right? So when I'm trying to say pubs, you're sounding like pups. When I say pups and pubs, you see the difference? Pups, pubs. Which one is longer? Pubs, right? So can the computer not figure out which one you said? If you say in this speed, it's pubs. If you say in this speed, it's pubs. Right? So English is 50% vocal sound, 50% non-vocal sound. Right? So if you're from subcontinent and a female speaker, you say, oh, I don't get good results in my pronunciation. What's going on? Right? People tend to think, well, you have to lower your register, otherwise it's not going to work. Some people advise you to hold your throat. Right? This one gives you that bass. What happens? After to read aloud, you are that person who died. Right? So that's why you have to avoid that. You just have to understand what's the difference between that vocal sound and non-vocal sound. Right? So for example, the difference between this one to this one is the vocal sound. H, b, h, b, t, d. Right? So one is dot, another one is thought. Right? It's quite different. And depending on that, this sound changes as well. So for example, if I finish this sound here is pups. And if I finish this one, pubs. So quite longer, right? So dot, right? Bop, pop to bob is quite different, right? Now, let me show you how easy it is to see when you record it, right? So again, bob and pop, which is going to be longer, bob or pop? Bob will be longer, right? So look at the waveform of this recording here.
Bob, pop, bomb, pop, bomb, pop, bomb, pop.
Right? So I've recorded that one, right? So wait for the graph to come. Now can somebody tell me which one could be pop, which one could be bob?
First one.
Bob is the longer one.
Okay, so which one would you say this one is?
Bob.
No, the one that I'm just showing you here. This one. Pop, right?
Pop, bomb, pop, bomb, pop, bomb, pop.
And this one?
Bob.
Bomb, pop, bomb, pop, bomb, pop.
See?
Bob. Sounds like Bob.
Sounds like, see, even when you're listening it seems pretty similar, right? But as far as computer is concerned, if there is pubs and you say pubs, it's gonna be pubs. Let's go to the pubs. You say let's go to the pubs. How can you go to the pubs? The pubs are little pups, right? You can't really go to the pubs. You have to go to the pubs, right? So this is how your pronunciation impacts your content, right? All you have to do is just go through that sounds, the links that I've given you, and see if you have an issue with it or not. More importantly, when you send your read aloud, if I say that it's a concerning, if I tell you that fix these sounds, that means it's really concerning. Otherwise, I don't want you to go through that journey, right? Because it takes a bit of time. Remember 2 weeks, 4 weeks? If I say word level hesitation, 4 weeks. If I say sentence level hesitation, 2 weeks. If I say sound, 6 weeks, right? Because it's not that great. It's gonna be a bit longer, right? But please be aware that your pronunciation could have a content impact, right? So this is how you're going to see all those consonant sounds. Remember, all vowels and consonants are produced in a manner, right? So pups, I don't really know what's pup. They go to the pups, really? No, pups. Then comes the long sounds in the vowel, right? So this also changes meaning. You have to be aware that this is longer, this is shorter. If you say 2 dots, longer. If you say 2 letters, longer. It changes meaning also. If I say that let's go to the beach and get on to the sheep, compared to let's go to the beach and get on the sheep, let's go to the beach and get on the sheep, compared to let's go to the beach and then get on the sheep. One is going to the beach and get on a sheep and go away, another one is animal cruelty. Right? One is beach compared to beach, another one is sheep compared to sheep. So S-H-E-E-P is sheep. So you can't really say let's get on the sheep, right? That's completely different than going on the ship, right? So S-H-I-P is sheep. So these are those sounds there, right? Just be aware that you don't make mistakes like that, right? Just go through them as much as you can, right? So this is your pronunciation that you need to kind of address. I just closed my slides accidentally. But that's okay, I have access from the classroom. Okay, so again, if I summarize the pronunciation, what's my first objective? Sentence level stress. Try to make it as appropriate as you can. Then identify those sounds issue if you have it, right? Now another thing that we didn't really talk about is the connected speech, right? Remember the assimilation and deletion, right? You automatically do that. When you said British consumers, what did you do? You connected them together, right? We call them assimilation, British consumers, right? That's it. Very, 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 very simple. Okay. And the next one is obviously those sounds that you have to kind of address. Okay, so when you go back to that slides, these are the 3 subject areas that you can use to improve your pronunciation as much as you can. First thing is the tonic syllable, next thing is phonetics, and next thing is connected speech, right? Now there is a simple thing here which is called schwa sound, which is also kind of important, right? For example, have you ever seen a word like this? Right? Have you seen a kapati before?
Yeah.
Have you? What is that? Who said you've seen it? I think you're talking about chapati, not kapati.
No.
It's an instrument? What do you think? At this point you think it's an instrument, right? It's actually not an instrument, it's actually a cup of tea that I have in the morning.
Oh, come on.
Right? So when I tried to say them together, connected speech, cup of tea, is actually together cup of tea. Right? So instead of saying that of, right, which was a function word, we replace that with this short sound, right? So when you try to say things together, that sound automatically comes, right? So if you go back to that example of this word, this one is actually not of the, right? This is how you learned when you were a kid. The respondents. No, this is consonant, so the respondents. But in reality, it's actually most of the respondents, right? It's very quick. Other, right? The. So is that short sound, which is very quick. So you have to get used to that as well. It's mainly important for you listening, because you're expecting to hear of the, but you heard of the, right? So you just need to get used to it, and this will also give you that speed when you're reading it. So it's most of the respondents, right? So it's as if you're only hearing most and respondents. Again, those journeys are a bit longer than usual. If you have time, go through them. If you don't have time, just please make sure that you are doing that focus level stress. That's it. That's all you need, and phrasing. These all will come together. Right? Now, in terms of word level stress, there are some cheat sheets you can use, right? Especially if there is a two-syllable sounds, right? It's not climate, it's climate, right? It's not require, it's require, right? Now again, this is not really mostly important for your reading, it's most important for your listening. Because you expect to hear require, but you hear require. So all together, all of those sounds comes back together and it sounds quite foreign to you. So if you learn it the right way, slowly but steadily, you will become that native user, right? Instead of just learning some shortcuts, right? Regular class is not for shortcuts. Shortcuts is for later on, in intensive practice, right? Right now, learn the way you should learn it, right? Which is these little tricks, right? For example, information would be information, right? So it looks like I didn't even say info. Information, information. Or what you can do is quickly go to the Oxford Dictionary, right? And it shows you where to put stress. See, that's the UK version, that's the USA version, right? So this is a problematic word for me. I can never pronounce that one properly, but I can break it down. First one is, so first one is pray. Why is that pray? Because my first syllable. Let's say I came across this word in that exam. I don't really know what the pronunciation is. I have to say my pronunciation and my content score. So if I break it down into its root level, its morpheme, there are chances of me making any mistake is none, right? Which is the syllables of that word. What are the syllables? Unbroken sound with one vowel in it, right? What is vowel? What are vowels? A, I, O, U, and W and Y sometimes, right? So let's break it down. P, is it a vowel? R is a vowel. What's next? Pray. Then? Ro. Then? Get. Prerogative. Prerogative, right? Now where to put stress, the dictionary tells me where to put it, which is that little dash over there, right? So prerogative. 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 See how now I'm coming closer to that? Prerogative. So I started with very phonological simplification, but let's say this is my read aloud now. I'm practicing. Prerogative, 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 prerogative when the actual times comes. Then if you really want to learn what it is, you can kind of play them and listen.
Prerogative.
Very close, right? Not that far away. So this is a journey that you can take if you really want to learn a pronunciation of a difficult word that you do not know. Again, it's a bit lengthy process, but this is the right way to learn, right? Okay, cool. So yeah, either you can use that shortcuts, right? Remember that if the word is ending with shun, it will be the syllable before that. So information, information, right? If it's ending with cy, gy, and whatnot, it's democracy, right? Geology, right? Things like that, right? Again, works, but too much work. Just focus on word level stress, sentence level stress, not word level stress. Word level stress will come naturally. Trust me, when you do all these other things right, this comes naturally. Do you think an English person learned how to put stress first? Right? They started speaking and it automatically follows, right? So don't stress too much about the stress. Okay, cool. Now let's sum up the strategies that we're going to use today to make sure my read aloud is spot on in that next exam, even if it is tomorrow. Right? Anybody has an exam tomorrow? No? Sorry? You'll fail? But you'll get your speaking score, I can guarantee that. Right? You'll fail everything else, maybe, but the speaking you will not fail. It's very easy. Okay, so strategy-wise, what are we going to do? Remember, you cannot record the recording twice, right? I'm going to. How? Let them not record it, but I will pretend that I'm recording. So as soon as the text comes, I'm going to read aloud that text straight away, as if I'm going to do an actual read aloud of that text, right? What will that do to me? What are the advantages of that? Can you tell me?
Familiarize.
If you make mistakes and familiarize, first of all, you'll get familiarized with that text. If you make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes before it actually is recorded, right? You'll get used to it. More importantly, this is the second time around. In that test, you will be reading aloud that text one more time. So obviously, you'll be more fluent, you'll be more relaxed, and it's guaranteed you'll save more than 2 seconds. So it will be 2 seconds quicker than your first response. More importantly, now you'll identify those unknown words. What can you do with those unknown words? Drill them with its parts, right? Break them apart and see how close to the actual pronunciation you can get to. Then comes the problematic words, right? You know the words, but you don't really know, so you practice, try to say that again and again. More importantly, you're having those mental cues. Look at those S's, look at those EDs. This is where I'm going to go wrong. Forget about my pronunciation, I need my reading content score. So keep an eye on those S's and EDs. You think it's not that important, but that's why you miss it. When you come across a word that you do not know, so all your focus is there, right? I got to break it, I got to break the syllable, try it, but you tend to forget about those S's and EDs, which you easily miss, right? Then, if you have time, in the preparation time, identify those meaningful phrases, right? Try to kind of find out what could be the phrases, but that gives you that reading comprehension. Then comes the response, right? Reading phrases. You don't have to identify the meaningful one, just phrases. Put a couple of words together, make sure you're doing it or showing that trait, right? Then maintain a natural rate. So you cannot really speak very softly in the beginning. Right now, advice time is coming. I need to run fast and finish quickly, right? You do not manipulate your rate just because time is tight, right? And now that goes for in-between item types as well. So you read aloud cannot be poetry. Repeat sentence as if you're dying. Retail lecture, your train is missing. Describe image, you are having a bit of fun, right? So it needs to be steady from read aloud 1 to your answer short question, which is only a short question anyway, right? But make sure for read aloud, repeat sentence, describe image, and retail lecture, your fluency rate is exactly the same. You do not manipulate just because the task is different. You manipulate your language, not the trait, right? Keep the trait always the same, right? So that's why I said maintain natural rate, as natural as you can. Then the rhythmic stress on important phrases, right? Choose a 1 or 2, at max 2. If you are very stressed on that exam, but I don't really know what's going on, just choose 2 phrases to say louder and clear. That's it, right? Louder than normal, and that will give you good pronunciation and fluency score just like that, without knowing all those other fancy terms that I discussed today, right? And then obviously don't forget to maintain rhythm. Now, one of the cues for maintaining rhythm: full stop, pause. Don't do that, right? Comma, pause. Natural pauses, just whenever you need to breathe, right? Don't die. Don't be that person who dies next to you, right? Just be natural, be calm, right? Okay, any questions up to this point? Otherwise, we'll jump into practice now. Yes, that's fine. That's not a question though, but it's okay. Okay, so think about it, right? This is your strategy. Picture yourself doing that test. Visualization is one of the ways you can really get prepared for that test. Picture the regular text came, what are you doing, right? What could be the problem that you might face? How would you tell yourself to look for those S's and E's? How would you tell yourself to find those rhythms? If you get stuck, what would you do? Would you say sorry, or would you just keep going? Keep going, right? So picture that, and then you will see that it becomes more tangible to you, right? Especially if you're doing the test for the first time. Who are doing the test for the first time? Have you guys booked the test?
No.
Who hasn't booked the test? Put your hand up. Keep it up. Keep it in the air. Right, keep it up. Okay. So promise with me, Ribad, I will never book my test without asking someone. Right? Make sure next time you get your desired score. Don't have to keep doing it, right? Unless and until I tell you that you're ready for the booking the test, don't book it. Now if your visa runs out, different story. If you have time, take your time. Don't just book just because you think you're ready. Ask us, right? Because first time will be the easiest time you take the test. Next time it will be harder. Okay.
Why is that?
Any question? There's lots of reason for that. Next time you'll be more stressed. You'll doubt yourself. Did I do it right last time? Did I do the phrasing last time? Things like that. First time will be the most relaxed because everything you're doing is right. Next time you doubt everything. There's other things going on. Let's not focus on that right now, which is item response theory. Let's already heavy class today, right? Book 1-to-1 consultation to find that out what happens, right? But trust me, next time it will be harder. Have you booked your test?
Yep.
When is it?
I've done 4 already. So
You've done 4 already, right? So it's already harder.
I'm there.
So that's okay, right?
I don't
So
mind.
next one, please book before after asking us. Okay. Cool. Any questions up to this point? Right? Again, strategy is very simple. Text comes, read aloud it straight away, as if this is your response. If you find a word, drill it with the syllables. Right? Okay, so let's start practice. Cool. So again, as soon as the text comes now, I would like you to read that text straight away. Loud. What does loud mean?
Very loud.
Not very loud. Who said very loud? Read aloud. That means as if you're going to do your response. Then I'll tell you how much time you took. Right? See how little time she took to go to the toilet and come back? Yeah. Very good.
I'm here. I'm back.
She's ready for it aloud. Okay, cool. So again, you start reading aloud, right? Then I'll tell you how much time did you take collectively. Then after the time runs out for 40 seconds, again you're going to do your actual response. And I'll show you how much time you saved collectively as well, right? So let's see if this theory actually works or not, okay? Everybody ready?
Yep.
Sure? No. Have you booked your test? You said no? Okay, cool. In 3, 2, 1. So collectively you took 28 seconds. You still have 12 seconds to kind of go through them and what's going on. Right now you don't have any more. 3, 2, 1, go. 25 seconds collectively. Right? As you can see, as a collective group, you're saving about 2 seconds just because you did it second time around. Right? It will naturally happen because it's going to be your second nature in that exam. Right? So that's what you have to do as a strategy. Right? Now let's kind of discuss this text. What are some important parts here? History? Rubs? Is it rubs or rubs? Rubs. If you say rubs, content error. Right? History rubs? Shoulders. Right? Now, as far as phrasing is concerned, is it going to be history rubs or history? By itself. Subject verb, very easy phrasing, right? Don't have to worry about it. History rubs shoulders and often overlaps with many other areas of research. Many other areas together, areas of research from myths and epics. See, 2 S's. Myths and epics to the social sciences, including economics. There is a comma. Wait. There is a comma. Pause. Economics. Now you have to say the word again. Politics, another comma, pause. Biography, another comma, pause. Demography, another comma, pause. And much of the science. If you just do that, that's your rhythm. Is it flat anymore? Economics, politics, biography, demography, and much else besides. 1 word, 2 word, 3 word, 4 word, 5 words. Right? If you think about it, and much else besides, it's sounding like economics. So that's what we call phrasing. So economics, politics, biography, demography, and much else besides. Right? Then, after that, now, some histories or histories? Histories. Where would you put focus level stress now? Some histories, 2 words, 1 focus level stress. Some. Why? Absolutely valid question, right? Why some? Histories looks like a content word, right?
Yeah.
I've already introduced that. Is my focus histories anymore? No, my focus is some. So say focus level stress on some. But you cannot ignore histories, it cannot become the, right? It still has to be content level stress, but you're now going to say some histories are, right? Instead of saying some histories are almost pure narrative, no. Some histories are almost pure narratives. Because that's the main focus right now. I've introduced histories already. I'm now shifting my content level stress to a focus level stress, not histories, because when somebody says that you need to put stress on content works, it's not the right advice. Because appropriate stress here would be some histories are almost pure narratives, right? While others going for detailed, tightly focused analysis of, again, comma pauses. For example, the parish records, which one would be louder? Do we really know? Both are content, both are important. Parish records of a Cornish village in the 16th century, right? Because I need to know, is it 17, 20, 21? No, 16th century. So not content level stress, focus level stress. So this line, which you could have said some histories are almost pure narratives, while other goes in for detail, tightly focused analysis of. For example, the parish records of Cornish village in the 16th century. You can say that some histories are almost pure narratives, while others go in for detail, tightly focused analysis of. For example, the parish records of a Cornish village in the 16th century. Right? Just choose 1 or 3 words, 1 to 3 words, saying louder. Focus level stress. If you swap it, doesn't really matter. If you want to say histories, you can, because the trade is the same. Do you really care what's being said? Not really. As long as you demonstrate trades. Okay, in the next one, it's going to be the similar activity. You read aloud straight away. How? Can you read it? I just did. Again, okay, cool. So, history rubs shoulders and often overlaps with many other areas of research. From myths and epics to the social sciences, including economics, politics, biography, demography, and much else besides. Some histories are almost pure narratives, while others go in for detailed, tightly focused analysis of, for example, the parish records of a Cornish village in the 16th century. That's it. Right, I will probably take 22 seconds maybe. Right, again, advice was 20 seconds. But if I say 23 seconds, am I not going to get my score? In my last exam, I got 45 in reading from read aloud. Ooh, how did that happen? Just phrasing, right? I showed comprehension of reading. I might be off, but I'm showing the traits. That's all you need to do. Can you not do the same as I did? Right? Your pronunciation might be bad, but do I really care about pronunciation? Right? I can have an accent, but still do the same thing. Right? For example, history rubs shoulders and often overlaps with many other areas of research. From myths and epics to the social sciences, including economics, politics, biography, demography, and much else besides. Some histories are almost pure narratives, while others go in for detail, tightly focused on analysis of, for example, parish records of Cornish village in the 16th century. Accent. But traits, exactly the same. Exactly the same traits. So accent is not going to bring your score down. When you don't produce those word level, sentence level stress, and those rhythm, that's when it gets you down. Right? Remember that instructor. Right? The body language was the main thing, not what I'm speaking of. Very, very easy to figure those things out. You can do it. As I said, tomorrow 90 in speaking. Right? Okay, so the next text that comes out, what are you going to do? Again, similar preparation, but I'll choose a group randomly to speak out. A table randomly. Right? I don't really know which one. Right? Prepare very well. In 3, 2, 1. You still have whatever 10 seconds to prepare. So when I say 3, 2, 1, this table will read aloud. In 3, 2, 1, go.
With the increase in women's participation in the labor force, many mothers have less time available to undertake domestic activities. At the same time, there has been increasing recognition that the father's role and relationship with the child is important. A father can have many roles in the family, ranging from income provider to teacher, carer, playmate, and role model.
Cool. Sounds pretty good, right? But can we make it a bit better without teaching them too many things? What do you think? Yes, we can. Let's try it. What's your name?
Angie.
Angie? Okay. Angie here, right? Don't take it the wrong way. I'm just pretending, role playing. Angie here is blind. Can't see the text. And deaf. Can't hear you properly.
Oh my God.
But she's very curious about the topic, right? Could you please repeat that same text for Angie? Remember, she can't hear you properly, right? And can't see. Did you bring your glasses today? Did you? You didn't, right? For the purpose said no. Yes, oh, you're not really blind, a little bit blind, right? Because of the glass. Can see it, but not really properly can see it. Could you please, 4 of you together at the same time, say it for her. She really wants to know, please, okay? So in 3, 2, 1, when I say 4 of you together read it, this text for her. Not for you, for her. For who? For her. In 3, 2, 1, go.
With the increase in women's participation in the labor force, many mothers have less time available to undertake domestic activities. At the same time, there has been increasing recognition that the father's role and relationship with the child is important. A father can have many roles in the family, ranging from income provider to teacher, carer, playmate, and role model.
Okay. Have you noticed that they are a bit more relaxed than before?
Yes.
Because previously they were thinking about reading, read aloud, read aloud, read aloud. Oh, my PD. Right now, just Angie. Right? So if you want to think about Angie in that next exam, go for it. Right? Nobody cares. As long as you have that human touch there, right? Because this text, an 8-year-old can read it. What's the difference between you and that 8-year-old? She's going to read it for herself. You're doing it for somebody else. Now, is that my expectation? Is that my expectation? No. What's the main thing here? You're repeating to inform or to explain. It's not what I'm expecting, it's what Pearson's expecting from you. That's how you're different to a non-adult to an adult. Right? You're doing it for somebody else. I didn't really have to change too much of your response. Just the concept. That please do it for somebody else. That's it. Automatically, you sound better, you sound relaxed, you give those rhythms. Because you're now thinking about reading it for somebody else. That's all you have to do. Okay? Cool. So hopefully in the next one, when I choose that text table, you'll be automatically thinking about Angie. Okay, so the next text comes in, we'll think about Angie and do it aloud. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, 30 seconds. You still have 10 seconds. When I say 3, 2, 1, it will be this group now. See the girl and the 3 boys. In 3, 2, 1, go.
There are many kinds of ponds, but nearly all are small bodies of shallow, set with water in which plants and fruits grow. Water movement is light and temperature is fluctuating. The wealth of plants and trees during their lives, oxygen is plentiful. However, at night, when photosynthesis no longer takes place, oxygen supply is more variable.
Okay, not bad. Angie, how many people spoke?
4.
Did you hear the girl?
No.
See? So it's not
No, I heard that. But
little bit, right?
Yeah.
So this is what happens in the exam as well. If you find that your person is louder than you, obviously your microphone is going to catch the other person and you will have a very low pronunciation score. So what you have to do, you have to be louder than the person next to you as far as your microphone is concerned. You can either avoid them or try to be louder. Either wait for them to finish, so you go in that exam and one person is kind of going to introduce, I am going to do the exam today because I need my PR. So you wait. No, I can't speak like that, right? So that's what you have to do. Now, if you have started and you have to go louder, don't scream. Screaming and being louder is not the same thing, right? Let's have a competition. You're going to say ponds and I'm going to say small. But I'm going to go louder than you. If I go louder than you, you have to go louder than me as well. It's a competition, right? You're small, I'm ponds. Go.
I'm only small?
Yes, you're small. Say small, I'm going to say ponds. Small, 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 ponds. See, all of a sudden he started to scream. Now if you scream, it will be this kind of response. When you're louder, it will be just the way it should be. So you're not going to say ponds. Ponds, right? You just raise your volume, don't scream. So sometimes when you try to go louder, that's what you do, it still will bring down your pronunciation score. So it's not ponds, right? Ponds, right? Just louder than everything else. The way you should do your sentence level stress. Okay, so now those 4 people, what's your name there?
Me?
Yeah.
Sergio.
Sergio, and
Sergio.
yours?
Vinay.
Vinay. So now you 4 of you will go on a date with Sergio and Vinay. Right? Again, it's a platonic date, don't take wrong ideas. Right? Now when you're on a date, you have to make eye contact, right? Can you just speak to yourself? It's very rude. Can you go there and talk to like this? No, you have to make some sort of eye contact, right? Now you're going to read that same text. Sergio and Vinay, look at them. Right? You have to make some sort of eye contact as well. Right? Now you can't just read there. Make some eye contact while you're reading this text. In 3, 2, 1, go.
There are many kinds of bonds, but
You have to look at them. Okay, one more time. Start from the top. Don't laugh. In 3. Again, don't laugh. Take it seriously. PT, remember, $79 plus $340. TRP. Back to course. In 3, 2, 1, go.
there are many kinds of bonds, but nearly all are small bodies of shallow systems, which plants with cells and flow. Water movement is slight and temperature fluctuate widely. The wealth of plant reveals that during daylight hours, oxygen is plentiful. However, at night, when photosynthesis is longer takes place, oxygen supplies can fall very low.
Okay, it's very subtle, but have you seen a difference here? Now before the end, they kind of stretch that word, right? Because they're taking that word and then looking away, right? Because now they can't really leave that word behind. So instead of saying there are many kinds of pond, they're saying there are many kinds of pond, right? But nearly all are small bodies of shallow, right? Because you have to take that word with you because you're looking away from the screen. So automatically, you're putting that rhythm or stress on those words without even thinking. So if you have to pretend that you're going on a date with Vinay on the exam, do so. Doesn't really matter, right? But make sure conceptually you are doing that. Because again, who are you doing it for? Somebody who can't see this. You're repeating for the purpose of informing. So when you're trying to do that, you have to automatically put that phrases. So instead of saying there are many kinds of pond, you'll say there are many kinds of pond, right? As if you're doing a bit of a hand gesture. Look, there are many kinds of ponds, right? But nearly all are small bodies of shallow, stagnant water in which plants can grow. Things like that. So you just take it away, put a bit of a stretch, just because you want to inform. So conceptually, you can pretend that you are doing it for somebody through the computer, right? You're not speaking for yourself. That's when you keep your words in your mouth, right? That's the main thing you have to do. What do we call projection, right? A public speaker has to project his voice. No matter how loud I am, if I don't project my word, you'll never understand, right? So you have to open your mouth, right? So I can say table, 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 or I can say table, right? So the word is projected. So this is what you have to kind of pretend that you're projecting those sounds through the computer. So in doing so, it goes through that microphone that needs to receive your frequencies. Otherwise, it will never work. If you're a female, you have to worry about that. But even if you're a male, if you don't have that vocal sounds, still not going to work as far as your pronunciation is concerned, right? Just a mental conception that I'm doing it for somebody else, right? Projection of your speech response. Ideologically, you're trying to do it for somebody else. Okay? Cool. Random table next time as well. As soon as the text comes, read aloud straight away. In 3, 2, 1.
One of the most important things
You're getting quicker and quicker. It's 26 seconds. Okay, 10 seconds. Small. Okay.
Now it's easier, the words.
So it will be your table now. In 3, 2, 1, go.
One of the most important things to remember is that classic does not necessarily translate to favorite or best-selling. Literature is considered classic when it has stood the test of time, and it stands the test of time when the artistic quality is expressed, be it an expression of life, truth, beauty, or anything about the universal human condition.
Okay, not bad, right? You're trying to go up and down, but let's see if I can make it even easier, right? Can you choose just 3 words from the text for yourself? No, don't tell me. Just choose 3 words, any 3 words. You got it? 3 words? 3 words, just 3 words. 3 words? 3 words? 3 words, 3 words? Got it? Mentally tell yourself 3 words. Yo, 3 words. Choose 3 words from there. Tell yourself, these are my 3 words. Got it? Got it? Correct? Correct? Correct, 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 correct? Okay, cool. Now, when you speak that one, that 3 word will be the loudest. Not scream. Don't scream. Loud, right? That word, 3 words, will be the loudest word out of all of your other words. So if everything else is 5 decibel, that one will be 7 decibel, right? So when I say 3, 2, 1 again, remember those 3 words. As soon as that comes, say it louder than anything else. Anything else, right? In 3, 2, 1, go.
One of the most important things to remember is that classic does not necessarily translate to favorite or best-selling. Literature is instead considered classic. It has to do with the place of time, and it stands the test of time when the artistic quality is expressed, be it an expression of life, truth, beauty, or anything about the universal human condition.
Okay, cool. So now this exercise, do you think I did it for sentence level stress or to fix their rhythm?
Fix the rhythm.
Fix the rhythm, because when you put that stress on that word, the other words automatically came together for you, right? So you don't really have to think about putting those phrases together, it comes automatically, naturally, right? So when you think that, oh, you're sounding quite staccato, you're saying one word at a time, just choose 3 or 4 words to say louder than everything else. You will see that all the other words before and after will trail together, automatically. Right? Conceptually, obviously, you'll try to repeat from somebody else, but just choose a couple of words, say it louder, that's it, nothing else, very simply. Okay? Now, in here, what will be my first phrase, what do you reckon? One of the most, or one of the most important? One of the most important, right? So you can kind of assess that one. One of the most important things to remember, is that classic, right? Classic, there's a quotation mark, so pause before, pause after. So when this is recorded in the computer, there will be just one word by itself. A pause before, pause after. So you cannot really put them together. Classic does not necessarily translate to favorite or best-selling. Favorite or best-selling, right? Or is very quick. Favorite or best-selling. Literature is instead, should it be together or separate? I said it's together. What do you think? Literature instead? No, literature, right? It's my new topic. Literature instead considered classic when it has stood the test of time. Test of time. See, the phrases came automatically. Test of time. And it stands the test of time. Now, did I say test of time stressfully? No, I just said that before. So my sentence level stress shifted. Appropriate stress, right? Test of time when the artistic quality is expressed. Artistic quality, it expresses, right? Not expressed, right? Some of you say express. It expresses, right? You have to really read carefully. Expresses. Be it, together or separate? Be it. See, another challenging phrase, right? Be it an expression of life. So be will be separate, it an expression of life, truth, beauty, or anything about the universal human condition. Universal human condition, right? As something to end. Universal human condition, right? Again, if you just drill that a couple of times when you practice this, automatically will come naturally to you. Okay? Cool. So let's try another one. As soon as the text comes, everybody reads. And random table to read. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, 26 seconds one more time. So when I say 3, 2, 1, it will be the front table. Yes, it's always good to sit down. So keep reading. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Before the time of Alexander the Great, the only Eastern people who could be compared with the Greeks in the fields of science and philosophy were from the Indian subcontinent. However, because so little is known about Indian chronology, it is difficult to tell how much of their science was original and how much was the result of Greek influence.
You broke your promise. You stopped. You said you're never going to stop. Did she die? No, she didn't. Why did you stop? You can never stop. When that happens, you keep going, right? Now, the way you can kind of make sure that it never happens is your ability to read a phrase ahead of it. right? It's not going to come that naturally, but there is an app called Skim Reading app, which shows you how to read very fast, right? So if you drill that one in your practices, you'll be able to read in front of the phrases, so the chances of you failing is always a bit less, right? Okay, so never stop, just keep going. Okay, in here, what will be my first level, first stress? Before the time of Alexander the Great, right? The only Eastern people, right? So you put stress on Greeks, but you didn't put stress on Eastern, right? Without Eastern, Greeks doesn't really matter much. Eastern people who could be considered with the Greeks in the fields of, you said field of, right? See, you didn't even notice that you did that. So it's a fields of. So that tells you whenever you're doing these kind of practices, get a friend with you, right? A friend who is very competitive with you as well, right? So then you're going to tell them, I'm going to read this text, look what I'm doing as a mistake, right? She's going to be like this. Yes! Right? Have a bit of competition with each other, right? Because this is what's going to give you that good practice for that next test. 1 S could be 1 mark gone from your reading, right? Now, can you rely on your vocabulary for filling the blanks? But this is right in front of you, right? Don't make a mistake. Vocabulary is not in your control. This is. So make sure that you're really focused on that. Okay. Now, remember that appropriate sentence level stress? Here is a demonstration of that. So let's say if I start from could be compared with the Greeks in the fields of science or philosophy, where from the Indian subcontinent, right? Indian subcontinent. However, because so little is known about the Indian chronology, it is difficult to tell how much of the science was original and how much was the result of Greek influence, right? So what was the difference between Indian and Indian?
Indian.
I changed it, right? So if you go with the concept of, oh, content words, I will say louder, you will say Indian again loudest. Is it appropriate in that context? No, because I have already introduced Indian. Now I'm going with the part which I'm talking about with it, which is the chronology. So the stress now, the focus level stress will be chronology. So in the beginning, Indian subcontinent. But in the next time, because so little is known about the Indian chronology, so chronology will be louder than Indian. Right? Stress level shift. That's it. Now, however, is it a start of a sentence or not? You're going to start with the higher tone or not?
No.
No? You're going to start with the lower tone? However. No, you're going to be however, right? And then you have to pause, right? However, and then, because so little is known, right? So what did you do there? You went up, you came down, and then you started again. What is that? What? Intonation. Do you have to learn intonation? Automatically happens. However, in your chronology, what is that? Intonation. Are you thinking about intonation at this point? It's just automatically trading back with your responsive. Concept is doing it for somebody else, right? So this is how you kind of shift your sentence level stresses, okay? Now, let's go to the next one. Let's see if we can find something interesting there. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, so obviously this is 35 seconds. After I say 3, 2, 1, it will be this table. See, you guys? The Beanie Boys. In 3, 2, 1, go.
If you can't think of an answer to some part, leave space and move on to the next part. Do not write about something else if you do not know the correct answer. This is just a waste of your valuable time and expense.
Okay, so what did you do? This is just a waste of your time, right? So you went up there. If you think about it, who is speaking? The examiner, right? So obviously the examiner is quite upset if you don't say that it's just waste my time. So you automatically did that without even thinking. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want from these kind of recordings, this type of readouts, right? Again, if you feel like you're kind of slow, think about it. What should I say together? Is it going to be if you can't or if you can't? Right? So again, that vowel comes very important here. If you say if you can't, it's not good. Don't say if you can't. It's if you can't, right? It's longer vowel, so 2 dots. If you can't think of an answer of some part, comma, right? Leave, right? Remember, you're explaining now. Leave, right? So it looks like you're giving some instruction. If you can't think of an answer to some part, leave a space and move on to the next part. And move on to the next part. Don't, right? See that hand gesture kind of tells you what should be the rhythm. Don't write about something else if you don't know the correct answer. right? Because I'm trying to explain you this thing, right? I'm informing you. This is just a waste of your valuable time, right? Your valuable time and the examiners, right? Why did I say and the examiners? What's that? Purpose, style, tone, attitude. What's examiner's attitude towards the end of the phrase? And the examiners. He's kind of serious about it, right? So you have to try to demonstrate that one in your speaking as well. Again, advanced level, but if you just think about it, automatically happens. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
We say we cannot or we can't.
Can't. So as long as, as the way it is written, you keep it that way, right? Don't change it. Because now you're saying instead of can't, cannot. Sorry, can't. No, can't.
If I say cannot.
So you do that, you lose errors. Yes, you have to read it as it is.
But sometimes Americans say can.
It can be can't as well. Both accents are perfectly fine. Remember I showed you Cambridge Dictionary? Why did I show you Cambridge Dictionary? I could have shown you Oxford. Because Cambridge has both UK and US. I thought of that answer. See? NG? I'm a smart too. Okay, next one. Which group will be next? I wonder. In 3, 2, 1, go. Cool, you still have 10 seconds. When I say 3, 2, 1, it will be those group at the back and you 3 at the back, right? At the same time. So you 3, you 5. You 5, you 3. Time to wake up. In 3, 2, 1, go!
We now know the work of neuroscientists that the human brain is wired to mimic other people, and this mimicry involves actually involuntary psychological experience in the observer. Human beings tend to imitate creatures that they speak, but psychologically, our brains include mirror neurons which react to actions that are seen as if we are doing the action ourselves.
Cool. Okay. You are with the hat, right? I don't know the word. I don't know what this word is. Can you help me break it down?
Physiological.
Why did you say psychological? Right? Because you forgot to break it down, right? This is not psychological. That's P. That's Y. This one is physiological, right? Again, syllables Y, PH, Y, P, C, O, Lo, G, K. Physiological, right? Again, why Lo would be louder? Because it ends with O. So the penultimate. Then remember the cheat sheet tells you where to put stress on, right? Again, so this one we now know. Or is it going to be we now know?
We know.
We now know, right? There you go. We now know through the work of. What's the spelling of that? Neuro or neuro? Neuro scientists. That the human brain is wired to mimic other people. Right? And the mimicry involves, right? Involves actual, involuntary, right? Involuntary physiological experience in observing. Human beings tend to imitate, actions that they see physiologically, brains neurons, which react to actions that see. Right? Those who are preparing for PT, you will notice that this is a fill in the blanks text. Right? So this is a kind of homework that I'm giving you as well. So the text that you have as a fill in the blanks, read them aloud. Right? It will be in your brain a bit more. You'll understand the contextual meaning of that a bit more as well. Okay, so to wrap up, what I need you to do is try to go through these slides one more time in groups, right? Okay. So go through the slides again one more time and generate questions. See if you have any confusion with anything else. That's what you bring into walk-in consultation, right? Okay, when you said it sounded pretty good, rhythmic, but what is rhythm? Come back and ask, clear those doubts, right? Then record your read aloud, send it to us, right? you will see on Facebook files where it says who to send your read-alouds with the repeated exam questions currently, right? Facebook files or Facebook post, you will see send your recordings to this person or that person. Once you send, we will tell you fix this, fix that. You might not understand what it is. Bring it to walk-in consultation. That this is the feedback you gave me, what does it mean? Right? Because you cannot have any doubts about read-aloud, right? This is how you start, this is what you give your reading score, this is what you give your speaking score. This has to be spot on. Trust me, if you can do read-aloud very well, you will get 90 in your reading if you just get the repeated exam questions, right? So from our bank, fill in the blanks will repeat. On top of that, if you do the read-aloud very well, I guarantee you 90 out of 90 in reading, right? That's why there is so many 90s on our Facebook results right now. Listening, it's not in our control, right? But we do the best we can, that's why we get 85 or 86, but everybody's getting 90 these days. Why? Because the read-aloud is spot on, no mistakes, and you're trying to do as advanced as you can, fill in the blanks repeats, right? So reading, done, right? So what I did today is give you your speaking score and reading score at the same time, not listening by the way, a bit difficult. We'll fix that in a minute, right? Okay, so homework is go through the slides from the Google Classroom, right? Second thing is send your read-alouds to your instructors, find out what's your issue, what's your main issue. Try to fix that with walk-in consultations, right? That's the main area where you fix everything. That's why you don't have to book. We want you to come anytime you can, any sessions you can. There is about 2 hours of session for walk-in. In a day, for 2 hours, you can come anytime you want and bring your problems. On top of the online support that we give you, right? So we cannot make this one any easier than this. Send your read-alouds, we'll give you a feedback. If you think you need more explanation, bring it to walk-in consultation. After that, if you think, no, it's still not working, intensive practice. That's when I really fix things, right? Really fix things. So, obviously, at the end of the day, you will get your desired score. Okay, cool. On that happy note, thanks for coming. Hopefully it was helpful. See you guys tomorrow.
What is the name of Google Classroom?
Name, it's the code you are after, my friend. Ask your friend.
You don't have a name, you have to go there.
It has the code, yes.
And then
Okay, thank you again. See you guys around.
Thank you. See you later. And my jacket. Oh,